Okay, love and other drugs. As you can tell, I'm wearing my Star Sapphire t-shirt, the Green Lantern Love Core. So this is the second time that Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway have been together in a romantic movie of sorts. Their last one was Brokeback Mountain. So I found it kind of ironic that in this one, they again have a slight issue between the two of them. I'll get that later. Essentially, if you've read any of the synopses, Anne Hathaway is a free-spirited person. That's the normal common code word for someone who's an artist and really doesn't seem to have, hate to use the phrase like actual job, but normally if someone is an artist and is occasionally seen smoking something in a manner similar to that of a joint and occasionally drinking, so they call it free spirit. It ends up meeting Jake Gyllenhaal in a fairly awkward way because he actually is a drug rep working for Pfizer. I found when they showed the Pfizer training to be somewhat humorous. I don't know if that's actually true. Seems like it could be. So at first they have one of those really bizarre, almost like friends with benefits. This is just sex. It's not to go into anything else. We meet up for a very specific reason. Once that reason is done, we go our separate ways. Ironically, there's also a trailer before this movie for a movie called No Strings Attached, which seemed to have similar plot points. But again, this is a dramatic romantic comedy. So if there's rom-com, this would be a drama-rom-com. And a lot of the comedy does come from Jake Gyllenhaal's brother in the movie, who was a software engineer and made a killing. He is essentially your complete and total comic relief in this movie. And I mean comic relief, he is the somewhat gross out, over the top comic relief. Does the love story portion work? Yes. Does it work fairly well? Yes. Do they have actual chemistry? Yes. I know they've been mentioned that this could be a potential, Academy Award winning performance for Anne Hathaway. Having not seen some of the other ones, I really can't say if it is or not. It's a very solid performance. And the reason why this is kind of different is she has Parkinson's, the young onset style Parkinson's. So by the time, and he finds out pretty much right off the bat, Jake Gyllenhaal does, he still wants to be with her. And part of it's kind of because when they first meet, she kind of blows him off. And since he's always been a ladies' man, that's what really gets him. It's that he's just getting any woman he wants, whenever he wants them. And this one is also kind of a challenge. Again, that's fairly standard romantic comedy fare. But not when the girl has Parkinson's. And they don't actually do Parkinson's in a humorous way. That is taken entirely serious. And there are some moments that are undeniably touching, as well as moments that are super over the top and, I guess in some ways, gross. Now I will say this, there is a lot of nudity in this movie. You see Jake Gyllenhaal's behind quite a few times. I've heard a rumor that you actually see his hoo-ha. During the process of watching the movie, I guess you need to freeze frame to see it, because it's not like he's standing there and, because there's a scene where it says just look for Pfizer. It is during the time when Viagra goes on the market, so he does become a Viagra salesman. So yes, there are some Viagra jokes. And of course, someone has that unfortunate side effect with Viagra. So leads to kind of a bizarre scene to go into a hospital to take your drug reaction, and then essentially kind of being like, as you can tell. So pretty much, on to her having the Parkinson's. They don't do any jokes with that at all, which is good. They do some jokes when she goes to a side convention. Jake Gyllenhaal's character is going to a convention in Chicago for all the drug reps. And a woman with Parkinson's sees Anne Hathaway's character and gives her a little pamphlet for a convention across the street, which is primarily just, people with Parkinson's discussing what it's like to live with it. And a lot of them are angry, and they do tell jokes about it. But it's still done in a kind of like we can joke at our illness because we're not just our illness, we're something else. We're still a person. We're a person with Parkinson's. We're not Parkinson's. And that was done, very well. Do they do some very overly dramatic sections? Yes, they do. It's almost kind of needed in a movie like this, since you're dealing with a guy who's essentially on a rocket ship to the top, and the woman that he loves has that weird feeling that, she's like, I'm the one slowing you down. I've got an issue. I've got Parkinson's. This is, there is no cure. And that's a lot of the high drama for it. You do see Jake Gyllenhaal's butt, and you do see a few more body parts that probably would have been best to have not seen the light of day on film. So, this is definitely a much more grown-up, sort of dramatic romantic comedy. It's a DRC. It's done well. It's a touching movie, and the title says it all. It's about love and other drugs.